Welcome to the Fireside Chat on the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network by Run, Try, Bike. This is where we skip the splits and get real with the people behind the miles. Today, I'm being joined by Jess Cerra, the Vice President, Product Development, Quality, and Community at Elite Nutrition. Jess is a former professional cyclist, a chef, an event organizer, and a previous guest on our Fiery Ember show, which you must go back and find. Go to runtrymag.com, Everyday Athlete Podcast Network. Once you're there, click on Fiery Embers, you'll be able to find it. Before I bring Jess onto the set with us, please remember to subscribe, rate, and review the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network on your favorite podcast platform. I am asking for 5 stars, but if you're inclined to give us less than that, please email me first, jason@runtrymag.com, and let me know how we can improve and earn those 5 stars. Now that I have all of that out of the way, let's bring Jess onto the set and let's have some fun. How are you?
Hello. I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I am fantastic. I had the pleasure of listening to our Fiery Ember show that we did with Noah a couple of weeks ago and had the opportunity to laugh again and harder for another 30 minutes. So thanks for joining me on that show.
Yeah, we shared that with the whole company and they got a good laugh over it too. So
it's appreciated. One of the things we do around here is we have an icebreaker question. So I'm going to present it to you and let's see where it leads us. You were just in New York City, so this might play well into the conversation.
Okay.
Pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
Yay.
Oh, no.
Are you going to hang up on me?
The shortest fireside chat in the history of our show.
This is going to tell us where we lead today. And we're not.
It's
I know it's controversial, but I just love pineapple on pizza. I'm sorry.
It's a good thing you told me you ordered Thai food when you were in New York and didn't order any pizza.
Maybe it's because I like where I am usually, I don't have like New York style pizza. Maybe it's like it's more fitting for a certain style. I can admit to that at least.
Fair enough. Here's my follow-up question on this, because one of the things I'm always intrigued by when people say yes to pineapple on pizza is, does it have to be accompanied by ham or sausage or pepperoni or jalapenos, or are you capable of eating just pineapple with cheese and red sauce on pizza?
My favorite pizza is mushrooms, bell peppers, pineapple, and fresh tomatoes. And that's what I order. So I guess sort of I'm okay with it, but now that you put it that way, just putting pineapple on a cheese pizza, I don't think that would be good.
Exactly. So thank you. You're back in our good graces.
Okay, good. Continue the show.
Well, let's jump into this. I gave you your introduction, and you've worn so many hats over the course of your career so far: cyclist, chef, business owner, event organizer. When you strip all of that away, who is Jess Cerra at her core?
A girl that loves being outdoors in the mountains in Montana. I think that's how I would identify. From Whitefish, Montana, and still live there today. I'm in California for the winter because my husband races full time still, and we need to be here. But that's like, not to sound cheesy, but that's where my heart and soul is. So pretty simple.
Cheesy.
Yeah.
Yes, sounds cheesy if you love it. But if you love it, like, that's the thing that you should, do. If you love it, be all over it. So when you were traveling and racing professionally, was there always, like, in the back of your mind, once this event is over, once these stages are over, I cannot wait to get back home to Montana and just settle back into home, because that's where the heart was?
That's an interesting question. I moved to San Diego in 2004 for grad school, and I lived down here for 17 years, and I stayed here because of professional racing and because I love the weather and I love the cycling scene. So I was always coming back here as home base, but you're tracking what I was truly feeling. My one trip home every summer, I gravitated towards that feeling, and I'd only get it for a week, but I knew, I was like, I have to end up back here. Like, I always knew, like, maybe not once the stage is over or once the race is over, but like once cycling is over for me as a professional, I will be back home in the mountains. And
Yeah.
I did. So,
You're talking about that, like living in San Diego for a number of years and then wanting, the one trip home. Like we tend to glamorize professional athletes. We tend to put this mindset like everything is unicorns and rainbows if you're a professional athlete.
yeah.
Is there a moment in your life when you question whether it was all worth it? And if there was, what helped get you through those moments?
Yeah, I think sometimes when you look at professional athletes, you think, "Oh, I just get to train and eat all day and I don't have to like go to work and I'm sponsored." The reality is
Massages.
massages, like I'm going to have my own soigneur and like life is groovy, but the reality is and like the parody of the sport is it's molding together slightly, but on the women's side, most women that I have raced with and been on teams with are incredibly accomplished, might have PhDs, own businesses like I did, working other jobs. So there's a lot more. I think social media has also glamorized it as well. And it's more attractive and fun to share the majority of like the good stories. And I always appreciate when athletes do throughout their like, I think it's important to share this because there are a lot of hard aspects to it from having to sacrifice time with family and social sacrifices to kind of grinding out working and training. For me, the times that got tough were I had some pretty significant injuries from two very major crashes. And those times kind of were made me think, should I be doing this to my body? And then like financially it was very stressful as well. But I think again, to go back to the cheese, the people in my life just wow, it blows me away the friends that I had and the community and the supporters that I had when I was racing full time and like what people were willing to do from opening up their homes to driving me to surgeries. Like you kind of lean on that support and have faith in the fact that there's talent behind the hard times and you just keep grinding. It's kind of the nature of an endurance athlete, right? And
Right.
so I don't ever look at it as like what I did to get out of those situations with my head above water. I look at it as like it was a whole team effort. Um, and those people are still on my team and still I consider them my family in my new ventures.
It's interesting. I think I told you once that I got to work with the DNA cycling team years
Yeah.
ago at the Joe Martin stage race. And it was just absolutely phenomenal to watch professional cyclists competing at the top level and keeping their head above water and engaging each other and dealing with the coaches and all of that other stuff. And it made me think then, and now that we're talking, I want to ask you this question, and I'll preface it with this. I spoke with Rach McBride on a webinar that we hosted a couple of months ago, and they have 2 master's degrees in subjects that honestly I can't even pronounce. Like they seem super difficult. They
Right.
are a cellist, they are a professional gravel cyclist, they are a professional triathlete, and I asked them the question about like when it's all said and done, when you go to register for a race and non-binary is not an option, like all of your accomplishments get reduced down to, does it feel like all of your accomplishments get reduced down to nothing? For you, racing in women's cycling, which doesn't get the notoriety that teams that are racing on the Tour de France are doing, but here you are as a business owner, you're a professional cyclist, you have all of these accomplishments. And when you think about those scenarios and those times, what did it make you feel like going unseen, for lack of a better phrase? Because women's cycling just doesn't get noticed here at least here in the United States, maybe in other parts of the world, but absolutely not here.
Yeah, accurate. And the first glimmer of hope was the first time that I spent real time in Europe racing, where you do see like the sport it's like a national sport and it's women are uplifted. But first off, huge fan of Rachel. I hope they can make it out to our race one day. And we do have a non-binary category and a para category. But I think in those types of scenarios, my personality is built around positivity. And I just think that motivating and working with people and kind of tracking what is the problem, let's come up with a game plan, let's figure out how to uplift ourselves, how to propel the sport forward, what do we need to do, how do we look at the financial models of teams. Like, I'm a problem solver, and I have a hard time feeling like, woe is me, this is so unfair. I'm like, I'm going to be part of the change. Like, I'm going to be part of fixing this. And there's multiple avenues to do that. I will say that there's still some of the like sexism and sort of issues in the sport that women have dealt with, like on team levels, and also, just being mistreated by coaches and staff. That's a different issue that like that is unacceptable and needs to be dealt with differently. But I think as far as like putting women's sport into the light, it's really hard to stop a lot of motivated people that are accomplished and educated and willing to kind of work together. And you've seen that happen with the Cycling Alliance, that has helped negotiate real contracts for women, having minimum salaries, pregnancy leave, all of those types of things. So I hope that's answering your question.
It does, and it made me think. I have two questions from that, but it made I'll ask the second one first. Like, do you think about your presence in that scenario? How like this stuff is being built today off of the momentum that you created when you were a professional cyclist, right? Like, do you ever think about that and sort of pat yourself on the back a little bit and say, I was part of the original or the start of this movement, or I was there before this happened, and I'm so happy to see it happening?
I guess I've never really thought about it like that. That's interesting to kind of look through that lens. Um, I guess this is weird. Sometimes I'm like, does anybody even remember that I existed? But
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you because the answer is yes. And I will tell you from my perspective why the answer is yes. When I was with the DNA cycling team and you were racing around that time, and Joji Bar came out, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, I've just spent an entire weekend watching these ladies, run themselves right into the ground, right?
yeah,
To race as hard as they can for these stages. And here's this athlete who is launching their own business simultaneously, which is not easy to do. And
yeah.
so, like, from one n equals one, the answer is yes. Like, yes, people remember you.
Yes, and I'm sure that I'm kind of saying that lightheartedly, but yeah, I don't know. I can see like the collective action of many of us together at that time, sort of doing this together and still doing it today. Like, I feel like I have more control over that today because I have a career and I'm financially stable. And so I've really been able to target how I want to approach what I think is important in sport through the event that we organize. And so I guess maybe I just feel like a little bit more in control. If that makes sense. Like, when you're young and racing and working yourself into the ground in a million different places, you're just like, where is all this going to go? Like, how is all of this going to add up? Like, 2 + 2 always seems like it equals 5 in this scenario. Like, I need to get out of here, but like, I also love it. And like, I can't stop.
Yeah,
So,
when you're in the midst of it, you can't see the forest for the trees. But now that
right.
you're able to step back, and it seemed like you hadn't thought about this before, I hope you take a moment to yourself, and realize that what's happening today doesn't happen unless you're doing the things that you were doing when you were racing, right? Like, there's that momentum buildup that keeps moving forward. And now that you, like you said, you have an opportunity to help in other ways, with getting more exposure for women cycling and helping women cyclists out, professional women cyclists, like that might be like the circle coming fully around, right? You're going to
Yeah.
be the person you wish you had when you were doing it.
Yeah. No, that's a good way of putting it. And I do love that part of it, to be like in that circle.
When you were out there racing, or maybe now, when was the last time you surprised yourself, either in sport or in business, in life?
Ooh. Actually, I can say honestly this summer, because I did one race this year and it was our event, the Last Best Ride. And I was able to race it this year because we now have someone else directing it. And I'm sort of more behind the scenes and helping to run the nonprofit portion of the event. And so I actually got to compete in the race this year. And we have a really fast local woman named Stella Hobbs. She just was announced into the Lifetime Grand Prix for the second year in a row. And she's incredibly talented. And my goal was not to beat her, but it was to be on the podium. And it's a 5 deep podium. And I ended up coming second to her by 8 minutes, which was like mind blowing that I could do that. But there's a climb in this race that is the hardest climb you will do in a gravel race. Mark my words. It is a 5 mile, absolutely horrendous climb. I think the QOM is like 51 minutes, just to give you a sense of
Wow.
like how hard this climb is. It's steep, it's rutted, it's rocky. A lot of people have to walk sections. I had the fastest time up this climb of any woman in the race by 2.5 minutes. That was like just like a tiny little accomplishment that for me meant so much, because I had a day where I felt good and I was reminded that I am just really good at bike racing, that I know what I'm doing in a group. I know how to conserve. I know when to use energy. I know how to exploit people who are too eager. And I just worked that to my best. And I was in a large group with all men and one other gal for a very long time. And several of the guys approached me after the race and they were like, it was really cool to race with you. Like, you really know what you're doing. And it was so obvious, like just watching you. And that made me feel really good, because I think with gravel, like I retired from road racing in 2019. And then I kind of started a privateer gravel like side career in 2020, and then COVID happened, and then I like fully immersed myself into career. And I always think like how fun it would be to apply the road racing side of me into the gravel scene that exists now, that is just like cream of the crop, like so top tier and so competitive, because it brings a special element. And you see a lot of that on the men's side. You see a lot of pro tour, world tour guys coming into gravel, less of that on the women's side. So anyways, I'm kind of getting us off topic here, but that accomplishment was very special to me. And you know what? I still haven't even made an Instagram post about this. I really wanted to. In November, the race was in July, Jason. So priorities.
Hey, not everything has to be publicized. If you got to enjoy it and it meant the world to you, that's all that matters. The
Yeah.
one thing you said in that part of the conversation that I think the everyday athlete may have missed is, you said, I actually had a good day. And I
Oh
don't
yeah.
think people, right? Like, I don't think people really understand how hard this stuff is. And so then we beat ourselves up when things don't go, unicorns and rainbows, which is almost never. And so here's a professional cyclist saying, I finally had a really good day. Like, that should say a lot to people.
Like the legs were firing that day. And I consumed 100 grams of carbs an hour, so which I've trained myself to do. But I did, yeah. And that is such a good point, that like I think there's also the perception of like what is happening. There's way more bad days and tough days with professionals. I think there's just more support and resources Like, so it kind of gets swallowed up a little bit, and you don't see it as much externally. But yeah, a good day is special still to us.
You mentioned that you trained yourself to take in 100 grams of carbs an hour, and that is a change. And so I want to go back to what you said a couple of answers ago was um, part of change is what you mentioned, part of change. And so this is change. And
Yeah.
so, we're always evolving. I wonder if when you launched Joji Bar, if it was because what you saw in the marketplace needed to be changed and Joji Bar was
Yeah.
going to be that change.
Yeah. Absolutely. This was at the beginning of the energy bar revolution, when there just was, you didn't walk into a Whole Foods and they needed a whole aisle for bars. There was not a baked option. There was not like a homemade type option. And at the time I was applying the science that I knew, which was that you need carbs and you need fat for, I was thinking like the zone 2, the endurance part of training and being active. I wasn't thinking of this as like race fuel specifically. But yeah, I felt like there was a space in the market for this product, and it really fit into that space. Unfortunately, that that was a quick high with like then the science kind of like really caught up, and here we are with all of these gels and other things, and bars are, they're old news. So, but absolutely, that was where my mind was at when I created the bars, which was back in 2010. So it
Yeah.
was a long time ago.
As an entrepreneur myself, there's a lot of wonderful days and there's a lot more awful days, similar to training and racing.
Yeah.
As you were building out your business, can you take us through some of the mental barriers that you had to overcome as you were building out this product, whether it was minimum distribution orders with potential partners, whether it was ingredients, calories,
Yeah.
marketing? Like, what were some of the mental barriers you had to face as you were building out this business?
I think the first thing is like my degree is in exercise physiology, and I intended to do a PhD and got sidetracked by wanting to race professionally. And so I finished my master's and pursued that, and it didn't like look at myself as an entrepreneur, and it was like the school of hard knocks. So I think part of it was like just being scared all the time that I was an imposter. And each of those elements that you just described, like you are everything. You're the CEO, you're the CFO, you're the director of operations, you're the CMO, like, and you're sort of doing all those things, like thinking, when are people going to figure out that I'm faking it and I have no idea what I'm doing? But I guess just if you're just willing to work hard and keep moving things along, um, you just keep that momentum, and it actually ends up working out. I would say some of the hardest things. So I kind of, one thing to point out is like the timing of this was different in the world, in the sense that there was an affordability factor. There was sort of like a formula to how you could run a business and how you could operate a business. I think that is a lot harder now with the cost of things and the scale of other companies and the scale of social media and marketing and the Amazons and the TikToks. So I didn't have those beasts to fight with yet. So the timing of it was really important. And I think also I hit the timing of like the beginning of social media, the beginning of Amazon, and I did those things correctly with the help of people who knew what they were doing, and that was great. So it was really, the bottleneck was operations, supply chain, and manufacturing. That was absolutely brutal. Like it was so hard, and we started in a small manufacturing facility down in Southern California, and things were going great. And this was we stayed with them for a very long time. Originally, the bars were like wrapped in foil and sold like behind the counter of bike shops. And then we started just flow wrapping them in clear plastic and label slapping. And then we went to this manufacturer, and they shut down the night of Thanksgiving. What year was this? 2019. They sent an email after we had been working with them for years, half a decade. And their email said, "We sold our facility to a cannabis edibles company, and we will not be able to make your purchase order. You need to have all your supplies out within 30 days. Okay, so for anyone that knows anything about manufacturing, 30 days is like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
You can't find a backup. Like, you can't reorganize yourself in that amount of time. And here's the crazy thing, and I think Jason, who is the founder of Bonk Breaker, would be okay with me saying this. Bonk Breaker was being made there also at this time.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know him yet. I just knew that they were being made there because I had seen the packaging in the facility. So here I am. Luckily, I had met another manufacturer, and I had established sort of like initial conversations with them. So I immediately went to them, and we got set up to start producing in 2020, and then COVID happened. But this, like what I'm describing, is just like, there are so many crazy things that happen, and you're working on a shoestring budget. You're kind of making your own tools. You live and breathe and sleep by Excel and just hope that like you just somehow put the formulas in correctly. But it is, yeah, it's like there's a lot. I think people sometimes like think like when they think of a business, they're like, oh, what's the name? What's the website going to look like? You know, what are all the fun parts? And that's great. And that is like, you have to have that. But
Right.
it's really, it's your P&L, your profit and loss statement, knowing your numbers and your logistics and your operations. And
Cash flow.
Yes. 8 days a week, 25 hours a day, 13 months a year. Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because your customers, our customers, they just see the front-facing side, right? They don't know how the sausage is made, as they say. And
Right.
and I teach, and I have spoken at different universities as a guest speaker about entrepreneurialism, and we get into the weeds about it. And I tell them, like, if you're not prepared to see how the sausage is made, go get the quote unquote regular job in corporate America, because it's a mess back here. Like, there's just so many things that are happening.
There's a lot of meat flying all over the place.
One of the things that you said while you were answering that question was, and I wrote it down, you said you got sidetracked into professional cycling. And that's a strange way it's a strange way to describe that, because, you either have the talent or you don't. Like, help me understand the sidetrack in the pro cycling.
So I was not a cyclist when I went to grad school. I found out through like my own research in the exercise physiology lab. I did a VO2 max test and had an Olympic level number with tennis shoes on a lab bike. And then like my professor got me into cycling, and I started doing it, and then winning and advancing and having the right mentors and the right coach. And before I knew it, it just like, at first I thought it was a distraction. And then I was like, oh, actually, I'm not going to do my PhD. I'm going to do this instead, and like thoroughly stress myself out for the next 10 years. But it was worth it. I'm so glad that I did that.
I just lectured yesterday, and I was talking to the students about being curious, always ask questions, always investigate, always dig deeper. And the reason why I said that to them was because you might have a hidden talent that you have no idea exists unless you explore and are curious. I said, I might be the world's greatest oboe player, but because I've never picked up an oboe, like, I have no idea. But you're literally describing exactly this scenario. You have this this cycling talent that was inside of you that unless you go and do this test, may never find out.
Yeah. And here's the funny thing. I at first did Xterra triathlon because that's what my coach did, and I had like read about it in a magazine, and I did not swim as a kid, so I had to learn how to swim as an adult, like competitive swim, and anybody who's been through that understands like you can only get so far in fitness. So there's that. Blowing people's doors off on the bike and then kind of like hobbling through the run and being too stubborn to be like, oh, I should acknowledge that obviously like the cycling is the thing. And so I hire a run coach and he does one session with me and he's like, I think that you should just do the cycling. It's like, what? How do you stay in business? This is a horrible business model. Like, you're supposed to tell me how bad I am and that I need to work with you every week. He's like, you have femurs the length of a 6'1" person. That's why you're so good at climbing on a bike. Like, you have these massive levers and like you're just spinning your wheels trying to be a good runner. Like, you should just do the cycling. So,
Why is it
anyway.
that when we have like the answer is staring us in the face, we're like, no, but I want to do the other thing instead?
Because we're endurance athletes. We're idiots.
I know I'm really good at this, but this other thing that I'm shitty at, I'm going that direction.
Yeah. Like, I love being an 8th pack swimmer. I'm going to keep doing that. Good plan. Good plan.
In business and in sport and today as a VP, you have your strengths, and then there are opportunities where you have to be vulnerable, ask for help, as you mentioned earlier, getting help. Like, was there a moment, whether it was in cycling or in business, where you realized that those two things, strength and vulnerability, can exist in the same space? And before you answer, I'll preface it with this. We have a podcast called Enduring Minds, and it's a mental health podcast for endurance athletes. And I get to be super vulnerable there. And the very first interview I did, my hands were so sweaty, Jess. Like, I mean, like they were dripping with sweat. And what I have found over time is like that vulnerability and being open and honest about who I am and the disordered eating issues I've had or the alcohol struggles I've dealt with have become a strength. And so I can point to that space. And so is there a moment where you're like, yes, vulnerability and strength can exist, and here's why?
Yes, and I think like vulnerability is a strength because it's like being strong. It's just like, training on the bike or going to the gym and like growing bigger muscles. Like, you have to do something to be strong. And like generally it's not easy. And so vulnerability, I think, is a huge part of being strong. And I think that something that I wasn't planning on sharing tonight was originally I had a business partner that I started JoJ with. And that was not the mindset of that person. And so I think I actually learned through watching someone else work that was not how I saw being strong, and we clashed on that and it did not work, and we separated that partnership. But it's that mindset of like asking for help is weakness, or like sharing like, oh, things aren't going well right now, or I like actually made this huge mistake, and asking for the help to get out of it. And those things do come up. And if you kind of like brush that under the rug and you're afraid, one, it's going to cause disaster, but two, it just is like kind of empowering when you partner with someone or you do ask for help. And then ultimately, like, there's a give back component of that eventually, where maybe they ask for your help, or down the line, someone comes to you and is like, oh, I did this. And you're like, actually, I've done that before too, and I can help you. So I guess that's my weird answer, but
I think it's the beauty of communication. So your story about having a partner when you launched Joj is no different than when I launched Run Try Bike 5 years ago. I had a partner too, and we didn't always see eye to eye, and eventually that had to come to a conclusion of them moving out of the business. And it's part of the lessons that you learn as you go through the process of running your own business or just life in general. Like we want things to be successful, right? Like we didn't enter into those partnerships hoping that they wouldn't be successful,
Right.
but it happens. And you, as long as you're prepared to handle those things, and you realize, like, if I tell somebody that this partnership end, that's a vulnerability that you're exposing yourself, because
Yeah.
you're like, it should have been great or whatever it might be. And then you realize, hey, I said that and my company didn't go under and people didn't run away like cockroaches when the light came on. Like, okay. And then you can build on that confidence. And I think that's something that a lot of people need to hear. Like, be vulnerable. The people who are going to stick with you are going to stick with you. And the people that leave, they weren't really there in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah. I also want to say that people who are smart and who have been through it, they can sort of sense that toxicity that comes with the egos,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not attractive. And it
Say it
just
again.
does not get you far. Confidence in a calm, composed way that shows that you're strong and you work hard is a different thing than that ego.
When you were cycling, um, did you work hard to keep things as simple as possible? Like, okay, this is what I have to do, and keep it as simple as possible. Was that the mindset?
Yeah, it's really like a utilitarian type aspect of like, I'm going to say that you're robotic because simplicity sounds a lot better, but it is. Yeah. Like, yeah, you get your systems and your patterns, and yeah, you keep things basic.
So then when you get into business, and now as the VP at a corporation, is that the same mindset? We have to keep this as simple as possible?
Yeah, sometimes it actually, you want to have the mindset of creativity and growth, but you also have to be pragmatic, and you have to understand your business and what's going on in the world around you enough to focus on the priorities. And I think maybe like priorities is the word that I'm going to use to replace simplicity in this scenario, where you really need to laser focus on those, but you have this like ability to, like, you have like another little satellite orbiting around you all the time, sort of like taking in the other information, and like where is the right spot to like course change, or maybe add something in, if that makes sense.
I'm gonna steal the word priorities from you when I teach my classes, because
Yeah.
yesterday I said to them, when we're in a meeting with our leadership team and an idea comes up, I try to keep it simple. And I think this is where the word priorities comes in really, really well. I ask, is this a cool idea or is this a money making idea? Right? If it's a cool
Right.
idea, put it on your notes in your phone and put it to the side. If it's a money
Yeah.
making idea, let's go to it. But that goes to priorities, right? Like, you still have bills to pay, you still have things that require funding. And so if it's a money making idea, let's explore it further. And then after we've explored it enough, if it sounds like something we want to do, go forward. Otherwise, put it over next to the cool idea in your notes app.
Totally. Another way of, yeah, I mean, because that's at the heart of a business. Like, we have to be, yeah, moving and shaking.
What does we're coming up on about 40 minutes now, so I don't want to hog up too much of your time, but what does success look like to you now? And how is
Mhm.
that different from what you used to chase?
I think there's still a personal element to it, but before it just seemed a little bit more selfish, even though thought I was kind of like a whole athlete that contributed to society and to friendships, but it really was like, you're selfish, and your success just lies on your performance goals all the time, and it's all you think about. And I think when, like, in the career I'm in now, I think a lot about the team and like how we all flow together. And it's just a little bit of a shift in a mindset because I'm still laser focused on like my personal goals and KPIs and the things that, I have on my checklist every day. And so I think that being an athlete actually kind of, like you said this earlier, the crossover between being an athlete and owning a business or being an entrepreneur, there's a lot of personality traits that draw us to, you see the crossover in a lot of people, is what I'm saying. And so you kind of draw that in, but you're doing it in just a little bit more of like a mature way. So I guess I approach it, I always think about like the team and like how we all work together. And yeah, it's interesting too because like cycling is a team sport, and so that was a consideration before, but really at the end of the day, like endurance athletes are pretty selfish.
Yes,
Like
yes, we
I'm
are.
just as selfish.
And I want our listeners to hear me when I say this. I've talked to Jess 3, 4, or 5 times in the last few months. And when we have exchanged emails and had conversations, team has been the thing that she has always referred to in the 5 conversations. So she's not bullshitting you. Like it's not a canned response that like some PR person at Elite Nutrition was like, I can say this if they ask this question. Like that's how you've come across to me throughout every one of our conversations. When we were emailing about you heading up to the New York City Marathon for the expo and the event up there. Like it was all like team. We was the words that you were using. So I always find it awesome, I guess, as crappy of a word as it is in this sentence. When people are who they really are, authentic, whether it's in a public forum like this or when you're emailing me and nobody else is seeing it, like those two
Yeah.
persons are the same person.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because I wasn't even thinking about censoring answers. So I'm, yeah, clearly someone that puts team very top of list, top of mind.
I think so. As a podcast host, one of the things that's really cool is I get to talk to people before they come on the show, and you
Yeah.
get to gauge personality, who they are, their strengths, their weaknesses. And sometimes, you don't talk as often as you and I have talked prior to today's event. But again, in every one of those conversations, there has been a focus on we, team, what can we, and I think that authenticity is something that tends to be missed out on a lot in today's society with social media, where people are, setting up props to take photos and like, the
Yeah.
authenticity doesn't really truly exist. Um, but you have it, and it comes through. And the fact that you earlier said, like, I had one of my proudest moments was 5 months ago, and I still haven't posted about it, right? Like that tells you, like, I've got other shit I'm focused on. It's okay.
Well, that's the highest compliment. So thank you.
I'll send you my Venmo account later.
Yeah. This was a setup.
I want to
People are
get
going to be
into
confused.
your event. We barely touched on it. The last best ride. How did it
Yeah.
come about? Why are you putting it on? Give us some deeper thoughts about your event than what we would see if we were to go to register today.
So what you'll see when you register, it's a gravel cycling experience located in Whitefish, Montana, which is nestled right next to Glacier National Park. So it's kind of a bucket list destination. We have just the most amazing roads and views, which was kind of like the impetus to start the event. My husband and I, during COVID, we I had gone to my friend's event in Vermont. Ted and Laura King had started an event called Rooted Vermont. And this was at the end of my road racing career. And I snuck off there before a Colorado Classic and borrowed Laura's bike and did this gravel race. And I was like, whoa, this needs to be in Whitefish. This is so cool. Little did I know like what was going to happen to the world, and that I was actually going to have some downtime to think about this and kind of connect a piece that you wouldn't guess would be connected, which is growing up in Whitefish. We were very poor, very humble beginnings. And when I learned about applying for college when I was in high school and I learned about the cost, I panicked and did not think I was going to be able to go to college. I had a guidance counselor that I worked with for 2 years who helped me apply for a bunch of local scholarships and grants, as well as the Pell Grant and other things. And I fully funded my undergrad education. And about half of that came from local scholarships within the community of Whitefish. And so that has lived inside of me. Like, it has been just kind of sitting there simmering for years. And it was like starting to turn into a boil. And I was like, I'm going to do this. Like, I want to bring my own scholarship to Whitefish. And I want to give women like me who have academic merit, have financial need, maybe come from other hard situations. I want to give them that extra boost. And so we thought, well, what if we create a gravel event, make the, the theme this awesome, event that people from all over the country want to come to, and make it more of like an entire weekend of activities. So people make friends and they feel included. And so now we're like merging all these other things that I don't like about racing, and all the barriers to people feeling like they are welcomed and can show up and find someone that looks like them. And just like all of those things that I feel strongly about, with let's make it a nonprofit, and we'll also have the community buy-in, and it will, help lift up this community and bring us together around this event. And that is what it turned into, more than I ever expected. It has been so well received. This will be year number 6 in 2026. We have given away in 5 years 31 scholarships to
Amazing.
girls from 6 schools, totaling $130,000.
Wow.
So it just like, it has blown my mind, the reception of people who aren't from Whitefish. And the reception is because people don't care like where they're contributing to helping youth. Like, these youth are our future. Like, we need
Yeah.
humble, educated, compassionate, hardworking people. That, and in my experience, it was less about the money and more about that knowing people believed in me and supported me enough to feel like I was worthy enough of like going to college and passing that along. And so that's been adopted by the cycling community as a whole, and our community, like our local community, has just absolutely, like, we have hundreds of volunteers, and people really look forward to this weekend. So
Are
that's,
there different distance options for people to
yeah.
participate in?
Yeah, so what the weekend kind of looks like is Friday, we have a welcome happy hour, with some food and drinks, and it's a fundraiser for the scholarship. Normally, we have like some pro riders there. One year, we did a fundraiser where people got to vote on a haircut for my husband, who has really long curly hair. And we raised $10,000. And on stage, he had his hair cut into Tiger King with the bleach and everything, mullet bleached on stage. And so there's always like a fun activity. And then Saturday we have our expo, we have shakeout rides, we have a women's and gender expansive brunch where we like finish at a local residence and have brunch. There's like a pizza party back at the expo. We do all these fun things. And then on Sunday is race day, and there's 2 distances. The short course is 45 miles and like 4,500 feet of climbing. So it's not an easy short, it's not a throwaway short course.
Do you have to do
And
that 5-mile climb?
No, you don't do
Okay.
that climb on the short course. You climb to the base of the ski resort on a different, like a little bit more reasonable climb where anybody can do the short course. Like we've had kids do it. It's hard, but we even have a hand cyclist who the first 3 years he did half of the short course. And then the
Wow.
last 2 years, he's done the whole short course on a hand cycle, and he's not slow. He PR'd by an hour this year.
Awesome.
And then the long course is 92 miles and 8,000 feet of climbing, and it's got I think 6,000 feet of climbing is from mile 40 to 66, so it's in like a 26-mile section. It's brutal. It's very hard, but
That's
beautiful.
amazing. When is the event?
July 26th, July 24th, 25th, and 26th of 2026. Yeah. So we're going to launch registration on November 21st.
Okay, so I will go back and edit our show notes on that day so we can drop the link in for registration so people can get there.
Cool. Thanks.
Because you are a chef, because you started a company that revolves around food, and I love food, we're going to talk a lot about food. But before we do that, we have a show called What's in Your Earbuds, and we ask every guest on every other show that we have, what are you listening to when you're either running or cycling on the trainer, or what is in your earbuds these days as you're training?
So if I'm just kind of, my training now is a lot of zone 2, just endurance riding with when I'm not with friends. My girlfriends think this is so funny because I just ride on my husband's wheel. Like I'll just ride on his wheel, drafting off of him for 5 hours, and that's how we've always ridden together. And like he's doing zone 2 and I'm kind of doing zone 2.75, but I'm like barely hanging on. I love listening to murder mystery books. Like I'm on a Frida McFadden tear right now. That woman knows how to write a murder mystery that you like can't put down. So that's so they're like, wait a minute. I said I spent $900 on Spotify last year. Like I got to get the Libby app. This is ridiculous. This is getting too expensive.
Has there ever been a moment where, like, as they're reading you the book, where it kind of scares you while you're riding?
Yes, and I actually can link like these books to situations in my life now. Like if I'm like riding somewhere, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like when they found the body, like in the thing. Yeah, I'm a weirdo, so fully on that. But then you can't resist like putting in like a T Swift remix when you really need to be in a good mood.
Yeah. Have you listened to Life of a Showgirl, that album?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's your favorite song?
The Wood song.
Yes, mine too. And
funny.
First of all,
it's like, this is so good.
It's so good. We went to go see the movie, my wife Lori and I, when it came out that Friday. We went to the movies, and then that Thursday, and then so that evening we went to play bingo with friends at a brewery. And as we're leaving, the song Wood comes on the radio, and I looked at her because it finally dawned on me. I'm like, that's the Jackson 5. And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, that bop is from the Jackson 5. Trust me, I know. And so she went and Googled it, and sure enough, it's a sampling from the Jackson 5, because that whole album is songs that include artists that have been, for lack of a better phrase, mistreated by the studios.
Yeah.
George Michael, the Jackson 5. And so I was like, and I love the Jackson 5, probably my favorite band of all time. And so that's how Wood has become my favorite song too. So I'm right there with you.
Did not pick up on that part of it. I just was like, Sam was like, what if they get divorced? And I was like, well, then he's going to become the Charlie Brown Christmas tree. I don't know what to say. He won't be a redwood anymore though.
Okay. We'll put the E on this one, explicit. 13-year-old kids, don't listen to this episode. I want to get into some food conversation, and these are all, humorous, meant to be humorous anyway. What's a dish or a recipe that would tell the story of your journey? Like something that brings you back to who you are?
Great question. I guess that it would be chicken pot pie with biscuit topping. And I kind of say that because it just like feels very cozy, mountain, simple food. Like, again, just back to the basics, but with my own little twist on it.
Is that a little bit of a recency bias because we're in November? Like if we had done this interview in like May, would it be different?
I'd probably be thinking totally different. But it's getting dark out at 5 p.m. How can you not want pot pie for dinner?
What's the weirdest or the most random thing you've eaten during a race?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, the most random thing I've eaten during a race. There's got to be something better than what I can think of right now. But we were talking today, actually. Do you remember when Cliff Bar came out with those pizza gels?
Yes.
That was a big miss. So that has been top of mind today. Like, you can't just take tomato sauce and oregano and put it in a gel pack. Like,
No, not for a
God.
moment.
Yeah. I I can't think of anything weird, but I can say that I'm known for putting cream cheese in between things. So it's not uncommon for me to show up with like pancakes or waffles or cookies or brownies or literally anything with like cream cheese mixed with maple syrup in between it. And it might even be like
Ooh.
this high when it starts, and I just like cram it in my middle jersey pocket.
I know you said you were crazy busy in New York, but the way you just described that stack of cream cheese, did you go to a New York City bagel shop and get a bagel with cream cheese?
No, I didn't. And I'm so
We're sending
sad.
you back.
I
I need
know.
your
It's ridiculous. We did not. I
because
can't believe it.
you go to a New York City bagel shop, you'll be in heaven because, the
Yeah.
cream cheese is like stacked this high. It's
Oh,
wild.
good. Yeah.
You
Well,
need to eat the bagel with a spoon because if you bite down on it, all the cream
that's
cheese
perfect.
shoots out the side.
That's perfect. I just really want to take a bite and a spoonful at a time anyways.
Are you an Oreo eater?
No, I wouldn't say that I seek out Oreos, but I love the Trader Joe's maple cookies,
Okay,
and
explain. Are
that's
they a
sandwich
sandwich cookie?
cookie. Yeah, with the maple in the middle, so that's what I love.
Okay. We'll pass on the Oreo conversation then. Um, Pumpkin spice or apple cider? We're in the season.
Pumpkin spice. Yes,
Okay.
pumpkin spice for
So
sure.
pineapple on pizza and pumpkin spice. I thought we were better friends than this, but okay.
Sorry. I told you, basic. I just can't like I just want to eat pumpkin right now and not feel bad about it.
Don't feel bad about it. I'm just some schmuck who hosts a podcast that just asks these ridiculous questions. Um, Candy corn. Is candy corn a real candy or is it earwax covered in sugar?
The latter. Ugh, I hate
Yes.
that stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
we're
No,
friends
it's
again.
awful. It's
It's really bad. It needs to be abolished.
it's terrible.
It's
Red
really bad.
velvet cake. Is red velvet a real flavor or is it just chocolate cake dressed up to go to the prom?
Uh, I think it's a real flavor because I've had some really good red velvet cakes that
Where did you get it from?
okay, so this is probably not the best example, but have you heard of the company Everything Bunt Cakes?
Yes.
Okay, there's a maybe
It's
you know
nothing bun cakes. Nothing bun cakes.
oh, Nothing Bunt Cakes.
Yeah.
Yes. You know what I think I like about them actually, now that I think about it, is that
The
they
cream cheese
everything
frosting?
frosting. Don't listen to me. I know nothing about food.
See, I asked this question because if you go to like your local grocery store and it's made in a sheet pan, they're not going to make it the way a bakery makes it, which is using alkalized cocoa and a whole bunch of different things to make it taste like red velvet cake. At the grocery store, it's just red food dye, and they're
Oh,
just charging you
yeah.
for the red velvet perception.
Yeah, that's not, ugh, no, thank you. I'm not a big cake fan. I like ice cream and pie.
Okay, favorite flavor of ice cream?
Actually, this is just vanilla bean is my
Yeah,
favorite flavor of
simple.
ice cream.
Back to
Love
simple.
vanilla bean. Favorite
Is there
pie
a
is strawberry rhubarb or pumpkin.
is is there a brand of ice cream that you love more than any others, or just give me the vanilla bean? I don't care who's making it.
No, it has to be like I always look for like cream, sugar, eggs, like the real ice
Yeah.
cream experience. So, yeah.
Just about every family in the world has an aunt or a grandmother, or maybe it's their own house that has a candy jar. And in that candy jar is the red swirly mint. There
Yep.
is a butterscotch in the yellow paper, yellow wrap. And then there's the strawberry that's in the strawberry, hard candy with that
Yeah.
strawberry
Yeah.
center with the that's on the candy dish table. That the candy dish is on the table. Jess is grabbing which one?
Butterscotch.
10 out of 10 times.
Yeah,
10 out
10
of
out of 10
10 times.
for sure.
Do you remember Brock's? And they used to make that caramel square. Do you remember that
No.
candy?
Mm.
Okay. It's literally a square of caramel that is as hard as a rock. And I guarantee you that a dentist invented it because you are losing teeth if you eat that thing. It's harder than a Tootsie Roll.
Like, yeah, I
All
don't
right,
remember that.
last food question for you. A tray of brownies has just come out of the oven. It's been on the counter long enough for it to cool. Are you going for the corner piece, the edge piece, or into the center for the ooey gooey piece?
Corner piece. I
Always
love
10 out of
that.
10
Like,
times.
yeah. Oh, that texture when it's still slightly warm.
Yeah, and you
Perfection.
need a handle. You gotta have a handle to eat it.
Yeah. Yeah, you
That's
do. We're aligned. We're aligned. We
and
need to start
you're putting your vanilla
putting
bean
the
ice cream
vanilla
on
ice
top of
cream
it?
on it. Oh, yeah.
Are you putting anything else on there? Is there nuts on the brownie? Are you caramel sauce in it?
I mean, I put whipped cream on it. I love whipped cream.
Can't
Real
go wrong.
whipped cream. Yeah.
Yeah, can't go wrong. By the
Yeah.
way, for those of you who have made it this far into the show, Jess has mentioned Whitefish, Montana a number of times, and she is authentic because when we did the Fiery Embers, Whitefish, Montana was on the world cycling tour. She had all the budget in the world to go wherever she wanted in the world, and Whitefish, Montana was on the cycling tour. So she is authentic. Everything you've heard today is 100% who she is. Jess, thank you so much for joining me. I've had a blast getting to know you a little bit better. We're going to have to do this again. Maybe when we come up on the last best ride race so we can promote it a little bit
Ooh,
more and get more people out there. Okay.
that'd be great. Thank you for having me. This was super fun.
Awesome. For those of you that have stuck around for the last hour, thank you so much. Time is the greatest gift that we can give to each other, and you gave me the gift of your time. Please remember to subscribe, rate, review the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network wherever you get your favorite podcasts, and come back next week for the next Fireside Chat. Have a great one, everybody.